Welcome. This is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason, and this is Rage, or Jay, the voice of rage. And we're glad to be coming back to you today. It's been a little while. See you guys coming on. James, welcome, James. Welcome, SSLS. As you see, we do have a new logo. I think it looks fantastic. I hope you guys feel the same. If you like it, give us some feedback in the comments as the show goes along. But a little bit of a new time here today, an hour early. You guys can comment on that too, whether you like that or whether you don't like that, whether you like the regular time. But going an hour early today, got some reasons for that. And Jay, we've got a loaded episode, really. I mean, this is as big as it gets for the most part. Traditional Big Ten Pac-12 matchup in the Rose Bowl, except it's the Big Ten versus the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl in a first ever historic, I guess you could say. I don't know that anybody really cares that much about that, but it is the first time, I would assume, that two Big Ten teams have ever played each other in the Rose Bowl. And somebody can check me on that if it has happened before, but I highly doubt that it ever has. Slip and Skippy enjoyed Colorado and Travis Hunter getting embarrassed. Yeah, we're going to discuss some of the games as we go in a little bit. I mean, just touch on them anyway. Jay, really the only one that I really have an interest in touching on is the big win by the USC Trojans and Lincoln Riley over Texas A&M and the SEC. The first time in recent years, or in any years really, that I can remember a 7-6 Big Ten team going
2-6. 6-6.
Yeah, 6-6 and
7-6 now.
Exactly, 6-6 Big Ten team beating two SEC teams, and we're not talking Vandy and Kentucky. We're talking LSU and Texas A&M, and that is. That's the new landscape, folks. That's the Big Ten rising, even in some of these middle of the road games, because USC is a talented football team. And in the Big Ten, you can be a talented football team and go 6-6. That's the way it is now. That's the way it is now. Now, I'm not saying they should have been 6-6. They absolutely should have been at least 8-4, probably 9-3, even 10-2. But they are a team that has talent. I think they showed that by beating two pretty talented rosters out of the SEC. What do you think?
Happy for USC, man. Happy for USC. The only take I can that I have from that game is it's interesting and beautiful that USC not only starts the season in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the kickoff game against LSU, and then finishes the season in Las Vegas, Nevada against another SEC team, the Texas A&M Aggies. So beautiful for the Big Ten and, as you know, USC, which is it's so weird to say USC is a Big Ten team, but They absolutely are. They are now by the letter of the law. You can talk about the spirit of the law you want. Letter of the law, they were 2-0 against the SEC, and at the end of the day, the SEC is our mortal enemy in this college football landscape. So loved it. That was a great game. Michael, did you realize that game ended at like 2:00 in the morning? Did you watch all of it?
I did not watch all of it. Yeah, I knew it ended very, very late. And what a comeback by USC there. Just a terrific way for them to end the season. I'm glad for them, obviously, because it's Big Ten over SEC. Trojan fans, we embrace you immediately as Big Ten members. Your wins count. That counts as a win against the SEC in a bowl game. That counts on the all-time record. That's Big Ten over SEC. And I'm always going to be happy about that. Remember, Jay, remember a while back I said, all I want for Christmas is a win over the Tennessee Vols, and we got that. And I got a few other things for Christmas as well. But how did your Christmas go? You guys have a good time?
Yes. Christmas was a beautiful time. Like always, my son got flowered in so many gifts. Honestly, he has so many gifts from last year he hasn't even really played with. And with my second child about to come here in a few days, it's like, obviously I don't know. I guess maybe some of those gifts will go to baby number 2. I don't know how I'll figure that out, but Christmas was a lot of fun. I actually have a lot of family and friends here right now. So, obviously I'm filming this after eating a nice little steak dinner and some beautiful, tasty mashed potato. My son is like looking at me right now. But yeah, it was actually delicious. My mom made some really good potato casserole. Michael, how was your Christmas? How was Tennessee? And then I have a follow-up question after all of that.
Yeah.
How was your Christmas, man?
You got to follow up after. Okay.
Yeah, after you answer. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It was good. Everything was good. Not a lot to report. We had a good time. Kids, I got them a lot of sports equipment and things. So, some kind of high dollar items, and cut out the junk a little bit this year. But that was my approach. And so, everything went well. Tennessee was fast and furious. I was there for just a couple of days and then back. Everything's going good. Glad to be back in the Buckeye State. Was glad to be in Tennessee, wearing my Buckeye gear. I didn't go out a whole lot when I was there in public. That is, mostly was staying with the family, other than an axe throwing battle with my boys. And
like you said, there's not much to do in Tennessee.
No, there's not. So that's pretty much it. That sums it up. No reason to get into that any further. What was your follow-up question?
Oh, I was gonna ask, man. So when do you leave for New Orleans?
I'm going down to New Orleans tomorrow, actually.
Okay. Are you leaving in the morning, or what's the deal there?
Flying out of the Cincinnati airport about 5. Take off about 5. So really not spending the day in New Orleans, just kind of going there and going to bed tomorrow night. Do gain an hour to get back on that glorious Central Time.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Is Tennessee Central Time? Eastern Tennessee?
No, it's Eastern.
Okay.
So I lived in not New Orleans, but I lived in Baton Rouge for 3 years, and so that was Central Time. And I always liked to live on Central Time. I did live in Birmingham a year as well, so 4 years on Central Time. Definitely better for TV. But watched the Georgia game. Got some fan activities that I've got passes to that should be pretty cool. So it'll be me and a friend of mine and his son. So just a lot of football going on that weekend. Obviously, I'll be watching the Buckeye game, this game we're about to talk about, Jay.
Hell yeah, man. I love it, man. I just love that you're able to do such cool things, man. I'm jealous of you, man. One day I'll get on your level. Everyone, I just want to say, number one, we are on X now. Michael, we actually have an official X account. Thank you, Elon Musk, for ridding all of the evils of Twitter. But yes, we are on X. It is on our main YouTube page. There should be a link there taking you there. Trust me, I have not posted anything yet. We're still trying to figure out what we want there. But in the near future, Michael is aware of this as well. We are going to have a very close friend of mine be a producer for us. So we have a lot of things coming down the pipeline. The show is growing. It is going to be better enhanced, should I say. Somebody made mention of posting a clip of our show before. Now you have the ability to tag us on X. You don't just post it on X and nobody knows where to go and check it out. Now they have the ability to actually go to the source of information, Michael. How exciting is that?
Yeah, it's very exciting. And so that X account will be a great way to communicate. I know a lot of people don't necessarily always check the YouTube community notes when we send things out. And so you can certainly check that X page. And I'll put in the show notes, I'll link our X account as well. If you guys follow us, we'll follow you right back. And we can support the Buckeyes there on X.
Absolutely no experience with X, but I support it, and I support Elon Musk's vision of free speech. That's all. I'm not saying I agree with Elon Musk on everything, but I do agree with his stance on freedom of speech.
Yep.
Everyone, do you like our new official show logo? We are also working on an intro as well as some other cool stuff. That should be out in a few weeks as well. Just a lot of things happening here. Michael, we were introduced to this show logo yesterday. Michael, what are your initial thoughts? I see some comments in here already, but we're working towards it. Michael, yeah, man, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I love it. We were able to have a little collaboration with the creator of the logo, and it went great. I think it turned out fantastic.
Beautiful. One of my best friends' sons is a graphic designer, so he's a very talented individual.
Yep.
Helps us a lot with that. Looking at some of the comments here, James is like, "Where are you guys at?" Okay, we were a couple minutes late. Spare us. Enjoyed Colorado and Travis Hunter getting embarrassed last night. I'm kind of indifferent to that. I'll speak upon that in a minute. Carolina Color loves the new look. Big Ten is 4-2 in bowl. Okay, yeah. Carolina Cutter, congrats to Jay. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. I am doing God's work about spreading more rages in the world, should I say.
Jay, I just put a link to our X there on the in the chat. We'll put one in the show notes as well. And of course, there's one that will always be on the YouTube channel. So anyhow,
I have something to say, man. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Michael, we have one more day left with bowl games that are not college football playoff affiliated. Where, again, I've mentioned this like 3 or 4 times, but where has the time gone? What happened to this season? It has gone so fast. In the blink of an eye, it felt like yesterday Ohio State was playing Akron. But yet here we are. We are 3 days away from, actually less than 3 days away now from the Rose Bowl. We are like 69 hours away from the Rose Bowl, like 67 hours away from the Rose Bowl kickoff.
Yep.
And this season has been gone. And I have tried my very best to tune into every single game of importance this season. But that did not make the season slow down anymore. We are now, this is it. This is the end. It is here. Like, what? It's really sad, man. And I can almost break down and start crying that we are at the end of another college football season, man. Like, what the fuck, man? Damn.
Yeah, it's they fly by, and we're here though. It's exciting. This is do or die. Slip and Skippy says hopefully the new rage can bring the Buckeyes a must-win over Oregon and possibly turn our program around.
Does he mean like the logo or like the new me? What are we talking about here?
Maybe he's talking.
I need more specifics.
Maybe he's talking about the new rage that the team played with against UT. Maybe he's saying that that's the new rage. I mean, we are the Scarlet and Rage. We knew that we were either going to be enraged over Ryan Day's lack of performance, or this team was going to find some of that anger, some of that rage that those great teams do, because this is going to be a test, Jay. This is a much more talented team than the Tennessee Volunteers. The Tennessee Volunteers were a nice little team. They had a few nice pieces. They didn't play an overly tough schedule, and they were just not in the same class as Ohio State. That is not the case in this matchup coming up in the Rose Bowl. These are closely aligned teams. We're going to go over some defensive stats and offensive stats and just see how these teams lined up over the course of their schedule, over the course of their 13 games so far. And, it's a close matchup. I mean, this is not a team that you can go up 14-0 on and think that you've got it. This is a team that's going to come charging right back. It's going to be blow for blow. I think it's going to be a relatively close game. We'll make our predictions at the end. Kick us off. I mean, let's get into this rematch of the Week 6 loss in out in Eugene.
Well, that was very astute, Michael. That was very astute. I actually have a question for you before we get into like the breakdown of Oregon and Ohio State. This is a very loaded question, but it's a simple question at the same time.
Right.
And the question I have for you is, are these the best 2 teams in the country right now?
I mean, I think so. I really do. I think they're the most complete teams. I think that Texas and Georgia and potentially Notre Dame could beat about anybody on a given day. But I still think that if you line up either of these teams against Georgia and play 10 games, that they're going to win 6 out of 10. So I mean, it's still, I don't think it's like a wide margin. I just think these are probably the two most complete teams.
That's man, talk about another sad subject. It's that is actually a sad subject. So I just want to point out something in the bowl games real quick, man, before we do a deep dive into Ohio State and Oregon. I just want to say I got to give major credit to Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, both playing in the entirety of the Alamo Bowl. That's what real players do, and not like the rest of the greedy prima donna clowns that infest the college football landscape. Even in a blowout, they continue to play. Another point into that, I want to just point out my wife's team that I've married into, the NC State Wolfpack and East Carolina Pirates. Just a terrible bowl game selection there. Michael, I don't know if you happen to watch that game. It really wasn't worth watching. Both teams like suck, massive cock. But both teams play fairly often and open in actually game 1 of next season. So, was that punishment for both teams just being completely abysmal programs? Or what, this didn't make any sense to me. I understand like both teams were terrible this year. And if you watch that game, and just being legitimately honest, if you watch that game and you watch it compared to Ohio State, Tennessee, it was like the freshman versus the varsity, not the JV versus the varsity, the freshman versus the varsity.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is the remnants of the old college football games like that. They don't mean anything. Nobody cares. The outcomes are relatively insignificant. I won't say totally insignificant, because I don't think it's ever insignificant for a program to win a bowl game. At least that's my view. I mean, I think it's always of some value. It's certainly better than losing the bowl game, but at the end of the day, nobody really cares. And, that's really on these coaches and these staffs, because never have these bowl games, many of them, been less important and people less interested. I am far less interested in these bowl games now that there is a 12-team playoff. I can say that. I didn't know if that was going to be the case. May not be the case with you guys watching, may not be the case with you, Jay, but it's the case with me. I used to watch all the Big Ten teams play, and I watched all the SEC teams play just to root against them. But I'm not doing that this year, because there's so many good games. And as we saw, the first round of the playoff were not necessarily even good games if you're looking for good games. But there's so many good games that it's just hard to watch some of these.
Yeah, I get you with all that, man. I get you with all that. It's just, yeah, man. Just no words to describe all of that. I just think the Bulls were poor selection there. Not to mention, man, Colorado and BYU. Did you happen to notice they play in the same conference?
Yeah.
Another fucking terrible selection.
Isn't that bizarre? Yeah.
Who is like making these bowl games? I understand they didn't play in the regular season, but they will in the future. Bowl games are supposed to represent like teams from other areas and in other conferences that rarely play. Not fucking NC State versus East Carolina that play like every 2 to 3 years, 4 years, or Colorado and BYU, who are now in the same conference. Like that is not just punishment to the players, but that's punishment to the fans, because people are not going to be excited about that. I feel like that would hurt these, the wallets of whomever is collecting the money regarding these bowl games. That's just poor selection there. Michael, you and I should be on the fucking committee to pick out these bowl games, man. I think we do a much better job.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was a lot of very uncompelling games. Still, there's some I want to watch. Of course, I'm going to watch Iowa, South Carolina. Of course, I'm going to watch, Alabama, Michigan. I'm going to watch those games, of course. But yeah, it's been quite a few undesirable type games. Slip and Skippy said, that's the truth, Michael. That's one thing I miss about the BCS. Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into this game. Where do you want to start? I mean, we're not really doing a position by position breakdown like we did a couple of months ago. If you want that, go back and watch the Oregon preview during the season. We kind of break down their players. None of that has really changed for the most part. There may be a few guys out now that were not then. I'm not 100% on that, but they've certainly got some of their big boys back as well, like Jordan Birch, who did not play in that game at Eugene.
Well, you are absolutely correct. I am not going to do a position by position breakdown of Oregon. We already know who they are. We've played them before. We've played them at Autzen. We now play them on the West Coast. There's nothing to be said there about the personnel. We know who they are. So we're going to skip all of that. Michael, the first thing I want to point out about this game is it makes me a little uncomfortable. Actually, it makes me very uncomfortable. I'm lying. A lot of Ohio State beat writers are confident about this game. They believe our pass defense is fixed now. A lot of them are picking Ohio State to win and think we are more talented. Well, we're not at home like we were against Tennessee in this game. So let's just start there, man. The pulse of the Ohio State nation is a little uncomfortable for me. Like, I don't know. It's almost like I'm stuck in some kind of alternate reality where I don't really know where to step or what to think there. Is your mic okay?
Yeah, well, my mic was just muted accidentally. I think there's this kind of strange malaise that, the Buckeye fans were extremely agonized, obviously, by the Michigan loss. And then there was an agonizing fear that we were going to lose to an SEC team on our home field. When that didn't happen, and when it didn't happen in such splendid fashion, it seems there was kind of a collective exhale among Buckeye fans. And I think a lot are looking at this, kind of under a lens that we've never looked at a game at this magnitude before. Because, generally it's the Buckeyes versus somebody from the South for these type of games, these big, massive games. Certainly, in years past, it could have been an Oregon in this type of game, but never this kind of Oregon. Never an Oregon that was clearly thought of, whether they are or whether they are not. They have clearly been kind of given that number one spot all throughout the year. And so it's never really been part of our postseason experience that we drum an SEC team, and now the challenge is another Big Ten team. And it's like, well, I think we got a good chance to win, and I hope we do. But if we lose, we didn't get embarrassed by an SEC team or somebody out of conference. We got beat by Oregon. And I think there is some of that kind of thinking going on in Buckeye Nation right now. That's just my feel. I'm not saying I'm exactly right. That just is kind of what I have picked up. And there are those Buckeye fans out there that I have, even some I've talked to and seen on these sites, that are very confident that this Buckeye team is going to continue what it started in Ohio Stadium a couple of weeks ago and go out and beat Oregon.
Michael, I think you have the Ohio State Nation pulse to a T, and I could not have said it better myself. I would say 90 to 100%, or no, not 100, to 99% of the Ohio State fan base feels the same way. And that's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that we're actually okay with losing to Oregon in the year 2024, that we have like the most talented team in the 247 composite. We have our $20 to $30 million roster, and we're just okay with losing in the Elite Eight of college football playoff. It's like, fuck, man, what a bunch of fucking losers. It's disgusting, and it's exactly why people like Ryan Day have a fucking job. I mean, there's no way to describe it, man. That's exactly why somebody like him is as safe as he's ever been. And he's not on the hot seat right now. He's on the hot seat to me, but he's not on the hot seat to, the people that actually make decisions. And that is the scariest part about
I, I will say this. I think that every win for Ryan Day right now gives him a little extra cushion. The ice was razor thin for him going into that Tennessee game. It thickened up for him a little bit. A loss against Oregon, and I still think he's going into next season not on thin ice, but not great. A win against Oregon, I think every win kind of gives him a little bit of security at this point and at this stage. Now, I think that we gave Ryan Day credit last time, and that he deserved it. I think that also you have to kind of say that he's capable. He unlocked what this team is capable of doing. Is Tennessee, Oregon? No, they're not. Are they in the same class as Oregon? No, not really. But that was such a dominating performance. I mean, this again, and I'm by no means the only person who says it. A lot of people have said it. National pundits have said it, that the score did not even, reflect how badly Ohio State, dominated and beat them. However, this is a different situation. But if he can unlock what that kind of performance against Tennessee, then if he comes out with a good game plan. And I'm not even saying they have to execute exactly at the same level they did at Tennessee, but if they execute at a high level, then I really do believe that Ohio State is a little better team. But these are the kind of games that are won in the margins. You can't turn the ball over. You can't, have big mistakes the way that you did the first game. And this is a big test for the defense because they really have not had their secondary stressed or tested the way that they're going to be tested in the Rose Bowl. And I think Slip and Skippy said it earlier. The Rose Bowl has had a tendency to be a very offensive venue in the last decade or so. A lot of high scoring games there. So, I mean, they got
Michigan and Alabama wasn't high scoring.
Correct. It was not. You're right. But they got their work cut out for them. And so, I don't know. What do you think? Where do you think we stand?
Well, I can tell you what I think, man. What I think first off is, speaking of Tennessee, Michael, I find it funny. I find it really funny, actually. Looking back, I find it, that the SEC cucks over there were picking Tennessee to actually win this game against Oregon.
Yeah.
After beating Ohio State. That just makes me fucking roll.
Yeah.
Over laughing my fucking ass off on the ground. Like, these fucking people are actually paid to have jobs at the SEC network. These fucking idiots are getting paid to post bullshit like that. Like, who in their right fucking mind would ever think Tennessee would have any chance against Oregon? Only people that suck the SEC's dick every day, and they make sure they polish that shit real good after they finish each time. They don't leave a single fucking drop.
Let me tell you about it, Jay. We were walking my dad's neighborhood, and one of his neighbors, like down the road, is out on his front porch. And he's this guy that I talked to about 5-6 years ago, big UT fan. He thought UT was going to get over the hump and be a national power again ever since I've known the guy. And so, but this was like 5-6 years ago. So he was out, and like we chatted for a minute, and I had I think I had Ohio State shirt on. And he didn't, mention anything about the game, which is fine. He's a UT fan. He got destroyed. He knows we're Ohio State fans. So I said to my dad, I said, well, I noticed he didn't really mention anything about the game. He said, oh, he's an Alabama fan now. Huge Alabama fan. I said, oh, really? And that's something that happened across East Tennessee during the drought that the Tennessee program has had. Is you had a lot of Alabama fans start to pop up in Tennessee. And, a couple of years ago, I noticed this when I went to the mall there in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There was as much Alabama gear for sale in like the local Dillard's as there was Tennessee gear. And so, it's very, Tennessee's not winning, so who's the big SEC team that's winning? Boom, we're gonna back them. There's a lot of that down there.
Wow, I don't actually have words for that. I mean, that is just soft beta fucking weak bullshit right there. Like, wow. I did not know that Tennessee was such a fragile fan base in that regard, that they just jump on the largest like cock of the SEC, man. Holy shit. That is disgusting and despicable. And if that's true, like, just wow, man. I don't have any words.
It's totally true. Now, are there diehard Tennessee fans that would never do that? Yeah, sure there are. But a lot of the ones even my age, that really had not had good Tennessee football for a lot of their adult life, started veering towards some of the other SEC powers. So yeah, it was a common thing, and it was just interesting that that guy down the road from my dad was another one that just jumped over from their SEC team to the best one.
Speaking of the SEC, man, have you ever watched that little segment called SEC Shorts? I mean, I've never, I've looked at it, in the last few years a little bit. Have you ever actually watched it in great detail?
I mean, I see it here and there. I don't pay great attention to it because usually I don't care. I watched recently the Tennessee one where the Tennessee fans were. That's what the whole thing was about. But
do you find it entertaining?
Not really.
Honestly?
Not honestly, not really. I mean, some of them that they do are kind of cutesy. But particularly no. Generally, I don't make it to the end on the ones that I have watched because it's just not, it's just not that entertaining to me. What, do you love them? Do you love the SEC shorts?
How a show like that is so successful epitomizes how dumb our country has become. How people find entertainment.
So you don't love the SEC shorts.
I think they're despicably stupid.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking mind numbing. It's not funny. They're not all that creative. They're a bunch of fucking beta cucks trying to be funny, and they're not funny. Again, like, this is somebody who like doesn't have near the success they do, but they get fucking paid for their stuff and probably work full time, and we don't. So I'm not trying to like compare us to them, but it's just fucking weak sauce, terrible. I don't know, man. It's not funny. Well, I can tell you that. And they try to be funny, and they fail, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've never found them super humorous. I mean, like I said, some of them are kind of like okay, like they're kind of humorous a little bit. I mean, even the Tennessee Ohio State one, I didn't even watch it to the end. But yeah, those are not something I've paid attention to too much. Just seen a little bit here and there. Did you watch the Tennessee one or something? Is that why you are on the
I've just seen a few over the years, and not one of them has made me laugh. I've just thought each one of them was stupid.
I would agree with that.
Like most of our country is stupid. That's how like presidents like Barack Obama and Joe Biden get elected. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter.
Let's get to a few of these comments here. Slip and Skippy. I feel like the defense are going to be left at home. Okay, so he has a ominous feeling about the defense. Shane Cup, I like the new graphic. Thank you. Appreciate it, Shane. Slip and Skippy, except for the Iowa beatdown by Stanford in 2016 Rose Bowl. Okay, yeah, I don't remember that one. Slip and Skippy again. I had to buy a gift for an Alabama fan last year. Felt like I was going against my morals. Yeah, that would be pretty gross to have to buy an Alabama gear. But anyhow, Jay, back to the game here. I mean, this defense seems like they figured some stuff out. They're doing some different things than they were doing up to that Oregon game. After that Oregon game, they started certainly changing up their looks a bit, trying some new things, running some stunts, kind of cutting JT and Sawyer loose a little bit more, and sending some linebacker pressure at times. They were not doing any of that before, and so it seems like some things have gotten fixed. However, they have not been stressed the way that they're about to be stressed. This is a very good offense. Now, whether Oregon is the best team, that can be debated, but this is the best offense that's left in the college football playoff. And so this is a top level elite offense. And, they've just not been tested at anything really close to that since they played them in the middle of the season.
No, they haven't. They have not been tested or like anything about that. Before we get into that, I just want to point out there's like some kind of joke out there about, Oregon's uniform selection for this game. And people are like saying, oh, Oregon just needs to wear the Michigan uniforms for this game. Well, my opinion is why? Why do they need to do that? Oregon's won the last 2 games, and they actually own Ryan Day currently. They are doing more than fine against Ryan Day's Ohio State Buckeyes. Like, I'll make that clear. This is Ryan Day's Ohio State Buckeyes they own. Not anything before that, but they own Ohio State under Ryan Day, and that's what they're facing. So why would they need to wear Michigan uniforms? I don't find that joke funny or very creative.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the big thing, it's and Ryan Day's going to have it until he proves he can beat him. And so, certainly I think that with his Michigan woes, a win against Oregon, a win against whoever, Texas or ASU, and a win against whoever, Notre Dame, Penn State, or Georgia. And, the Michigan woes are at least for the time being forgiven. But, he's still going to have to face that. He's still going to have to try and slay that beast at some point, or he's going to continue to hear things like this, and rightly so, but yeah, I don't think that that's going to be a factor. This is a totally different type of thing. This is a totally different setting. It's going to be glorious weather. It appears 73, 74, 75 degrees there in Southern California, and sunny, perfect conditions. The Rose Bowl is going to be playing on that beautiful grass, something that players don't get to play on a lot anymore.
Best grass in the United States is the Rose Bowls.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to get to play on that fantastic grass. It's just a great surface. It's a great venue, beautiful, as classic as it gets. And this is as big as it gets. I mean, this is I know Ohio State is a lower seed, number 8, but this is the two teams that many people feel are the best 2 teams in the country. After watching Ohio State against Tennessee live, I'm going to be really interested to go watch Georgia versus Notre Dame live and kind of try and make a mental comparison of how these teams looked out there on the field. And so as fast and as aggressive as they looked against Tennessee, they should look, as fast, if not faster, and more aggressive against Oregon in that beautiful Southern California weather, not in the 18-degree cold there in Columbus. I feel like that I have some confidence, Jay, that Jim Knowles has made some adjustments and that he's not going to go into this game with the same type of defense and the same type of mindset that he did in Eugene. Now, does that mean the result's going to be better? Obviously, that's yet to be determined. But I do have some confidence that he's going to change some things up. He's going to try some things different, that he's trying to figure out some ways to get some pressure on Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel's a problem because oftentimes it's his ability to extend plays that causes the issue, not necessarily even his rushing, his ability to evade a sack, get out of the pocket, and then hit a receiver. Of course, if you have big open running lanes, he can take off and run as well. But he's a versatile quarterback, does a lot of things well, and the Buckeyes absolutely got their hands cut out. I mean, got their hands full with him.
Yeah, they definitely do. Michael, one thing I want to point out, let's be real. This game is still in like pseudo Oregon territory, being in Pac-10 country. Not a total home game for them this time like it was the first time either. Oregon also won the first time around. So I guess revenge factor is on Ohio State's side as well. Biggest point I want to make, starting off is with Ohio State, leave no doubt. Leave nothing in the officials' hands in this game. For instance, create enough separation on routes that strip fumbles and recoveries should not be a consideration by the officials. Just don't let it happen. Don't bobble the ball. Don't turn the ball over. For example, specifically Quinshon Junkins against Tennessee. you've got to be on it and not fumble. You can't fumble like you did in the first game against Oregon when Derek Harmon exploded into the backfield and took the ball away from him. You can't fumble and mishandle a snap on a handoff from Will Howard like he did against Tennessee and was lucky to hold on to. So, that is just like the beginning part. Just be on it from a mental standpoint. Don't leave it up to the officials. Don't leave anything to chance. Play a clean fucking game, guys. A clean fucking game. That's all I ask from the beginning. Just, you know what? If you lose, at least play a clean fucking game. Jesus Christ, man. Like, don't leave it in the officials' hands. Don't fucking make stupid errors and give Oregon cheap scores like you did in the first time around. Hey, Michael, you're muted.
I think there's a case to be made that if, Ohio State plays a clean game, that they will win this football game by, 3 to 10 points. I think there's a case that you can make for that. You had the Caleb Downs thing where he gets hit and they get points. You have Quinshon Judkins fumbling the ball. You have Will Howard, falling down, and just flopping, and costing that, major down. So those are 3 very big gaffes, 2 of which cost a total of 9 points or maybe 10 points, whatever it was. But, if you take that away, and by take that away, I'm saying you play clean, or maybe you only have one of those, even close to clean. You take the home field advantage away. It's definitely more of an advantage to play there in Eugene in that packed little environment than it is to play in a stadium that's probably going to be 60% Oregon fans, 40% Ohio State, maybe 55-45. But there's going to be probably a slight advantage to Oregon, but there's going to be plenty of noise there for the Buckeyes. So you take away that home field advantage. And, there's a case to be made that Ohio State should win this game. Obviously, that's, a theoretical case, and that's why they play the game. And so what do you think about Ohio State on offense? I mean, that's the more intriguing thing to me, really.
I just, looking at some of these comments, Slip and Skippy, I very much understand the audience isn't as much right now. Number one, the holidays. Number two is the time change. We started a little early. I have people over here right now that are not being very considerate of this show. I told them to be a little quiet. I apologize. There's a lot of commotion in the next room. It is out of my control at this point, but they're over there fraternizing or doing whatever they do. Offensively, Michael, we just can't be conservative, in this game offensively, like they were to end the half versus Tennessee. I know you remember you pointing that specifically out to me. On defense, we need to bring pressure, play tight coverage, 3rd and 5 or less passes. We need to go past the sticks and not underneath. And my God, man, throw the fucking ball to Jeremiah Smith early and often. Force feed him. I don't care if he's triple covered. He can make catches in traffic. He's got the talent to do it. Oregon is a really good pass defense, but these guys are fucking small in the secondary. They are 5'10" at every single position in the back 5. They run a 4-2-5, and each one of those fucking bastards are 5'10". They are all really small. And, defensively, Jermaine Matthews needs to play a lot. Best cover guy on the team. He absolutely has to be playing, half of the snaps against Tez Johnson. He's our only corner who can run with that guy, and maybe the only corner in the country who can. And yes, somebody said it before, pass to open up the run. That means throwing on 1st and 2nd down, running on 3rd down. Weird. It's such a weird inverse. But you know what? The teams that are aggressive and bring it from that kind of mentality standpoint and play without fear, usually win the games as long as it's not a complete talent imbalance. It's just, that's what they did against Tennessee. First play of the game, they threw a screen. Yeah, it wasn't a downfield throw, but it wasn't a run either. Early in the game, they weren't running with much success against Tennessee, Michael. They started running with success when Tennessee is like, holy fuck, we can't fucking cover these guys, and they're coming out aggressive. Maybe we should pay more attention to their wide receivers. And then all of a sudden, Travion hits them with that, long run. But that long run didn't come until we were up 14-0, Michael. Our last run of the game didn't come until we were up 35-10. It's not rocket science. Ohio State, play to your strengths. Your strengths are not running the ball. I'm not saying we're not physical, but we're not a very successful running offense. Our offensive line isn't good enough. Our backs are really good, but our offensive line just is not. The schemes are not as good. I don't know what it is. It's a combination of both, but Ohio State, their path to success is throwing the ball. Will Howard, as long as you use him correctly and use him as a play action passer and not a traditional drop back guy, he can have success. Just don't put him in 3rd and 7 or longer on downs where you have no choice but to throw. He does not thrive in that area. Yeah, every now and then he does if the team's in a groove like they were against Tennessee. But for the most part, he really struggles there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I want to continue to see some of that Chip Kelly influence that we really have not seen this year, that we saw against Tennessee, where he got defenses moving one way, brought the run back the other way, and then he would reverse it. He would use the run to get the defenses going that way, throw short passes out this way where there was space. With these athletes, I want to continue to see that because, Chip was able to neutralize a deficit in talent by using that type of offensive scheme at times out in Oregon. And so obviously when you put very talented players doing that, we saw the result in Tennessee. And I hope that he's able to, scheme up some of those similar types of things to Oregon. Now, Jay, if I'm Oregon, maybe after I watch Tennessee, maybe I do what Michigan does and I try and stay, kind of like in a 2 high, and I trust my defensive line and my linebackers to stop the run game. And I give myself a little extra help against the real threat, the wide receivers. Is it enough extra help if they are determined to attack the pass? I don't know. But, we may see them go that way. At least it wouldn't surprise me.
I guess not. Oregon's defense is not Michigan's. Michigan's is literally the only defense in the country that can do that. Oregon's defense is really good. I mean, at least their front 4 and maybe like front 6 are really good, but they're not as, they're just not as good as Michigan collectively. I don't know they have the personnel to do that. Michael, did you say you actually pulled up some stats on this game by any chance, or did you already go over that?
No, I was about to bring those out. So
go ahead and bring those up.
If we're just looking at their offense, points scored, they have a slight edge of 36.9 per game, which is 7th in the country, versus 36 a game, which is 8th in the country. Total offense, they averaged 446 a game, and we averaged 427 a game. So they were number 12, we were number 24. Rushing offense, they were 177 a game, we were 168. They were number 17, we were number 52. There's some real detailed stats here that I'm not going to get into, but now moving on to the defense. If you just go yards per attempt, Ohio State has the edge in that, which means that they have a little more explosion than Oregon, it seems, at least on paper. If you go to the defense, points allowed. So there was a very slight edge, Oregon, on the offensive side of the ball. They were just a little better in almost everything except for the big plays. Defense, we have a significant edge kind of across the board. They've given up 18.1 points a game. We've given up 11.4. They're number 9. We're number 1. Yards per game, they have given up 309. We have given up 242. go on down to defensive pass per attempts and rushes per attempts and all of that. And we're winning solidly all the way across the board. So we are a step better statistically on defense, and we are about a quarter of a step behind statistically on offense.
I'm going to point something out here. And what I'm going to point out is Ohio State statistically, after Josh Simmons went out, statistically, our points per game went down, I believe, by like 4 maybe even 5 points per game offensively. And our rushing yards got cut down by like at least 50 yards. And that is, that was including Seth McLaughlin. So we really only have, the Indiana game, the Michigan game, and the Tennessee game, minus Seth McLaughlin. And, the Tennessee game was kind of an outlier, but the other 2 games, we really, really struggled running the football against those teams. So, yeah, I just, and then number 2, Oregon actually had some down, games offensively, I guess, for them, especially against Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why, one of the biggest reasons why that was, Michael?
Why?
Tez Johnson was not playing, their number 1 receiver. Now, again, he's like a transfer from some lower tier school, but the guy is dynamic. He's explosive. He's only 5'11", but he runs like a legit, probably laser time 4.40. He can score from anywhere on the field. He lit us up in the first time around. More Evan Stewart in that game, but he still did his thing. But he came back for the Washington game, and they put up 59 points. He also played against Penn State, and I believe they scored in the 40s against them, way more than we did. They just, they absolutely lit Penn State up. So I just want to point that out. Like Oregon, don't look at their struggles that they had a little after us. He got hurt against Michigan, and it didn't come back until Washington late in the year. I just want to make that clear.
Yep. And so, the counterpoint would be, it seems like Ohio State, with all their offensive line problems, have kind of gotten it refigured back out. I mean, they had those issues where Simmons goes out, and then now you've got Simmons and McLaughlin out, and it looked really ugly there immediately following that. And then seemingly they found a little better combination between Sarah Veld, Tegra Shabala, and Luke Montgomery there at the guard spots. Montgomery definitely adds some needed athleticism at the guard spots. And, so hopefully those guys can continue to hold their own and play a bit better. But again, I think the key to that, and we've already said it, but I think it can't be stressed enough. This offensive line needs help with the running game. This offensive line needs to get the defense a little bit stressed and spread out with the athletes that they have.
Looks like your mic got disconnected somehow. Did you get disconnected?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's just echoed. It's not the mic anymore.
All right, I'm back. Had a little disconnection there, but they got to get the athletes that they have out in space and help these offensive linemen and make it a little bit easier for them, to get that running game going.
No, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. It's just, the chat is dead as shit. Yeah, I mean, again, like we wanted to get this show over with earlier today. Michael's got things to do. I have people over here, so. That's one of the reasons. And I don't know, we might start experimenting with 8:30. Who knows? I don't know how many pro football sports fans we have in here. It feels like every time we do it, it's like halftime of like the NFL game on Sunday night. So who knows? Slip and Skippy says, hopefully his Chris Carter jersey will bring luck Wednesday. I don't know, man. Does it actually have Chris Carter on it? Like say Chris Carter or Carter?
Yeah,
is the last
yeah,
name
I think it's
2?
Yeah, probably a throwback. I go to Chris Carter Stadium quite often there in Middletown, Slip and Skippy. So he's that was his high school. They named the field, the stadium after him, Chris Carter Stadium. But yeah, so I mean, it's certainly something I think that they can get going in the run game, but I do think that they need help. Obviously, they're going to have to pass. I think that's kind of the thing about this matchup. Like, most people, after seeing the Tennessee game, know what Ohio State needs to do. Ohio State knows what they need to do. Now they have to get to the drawing board and see exactly what Oregon does and where they think they can exploit it. Is there any opportunities to get massive mismatches like Jeremiah Smith on a Tennessee linebacker, which they were able to scheme up on a few occasions? Can they get those kind of mismatches? Can they scheme those kind of things? I don't know. That's what Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are paid the big bucks to do. If they can do it, then I truly believe, Jay, this Ohio State team is just a little bit better. I feel like if they come out and they play a good game and Oregon plays a good game, Ohio State is just a little bit better. If they both play a great game, Ohio State's just a little bit better. If Ohio State plays a good game and Oregon plays a great game, now it could be a very close Oregon win. But I just think we have the edge of this. Can we execute? Can we go out there and use the players that they have recruited, the way that they need to be used? I think that's kind of what this comes down to. There's not a whole lot more to it from a fan perspective, really than that.
One little thing I want to add, man, I think you made mention of this, but another thing that should go without saying, but I have to say it because it's fucking Ryan Day's Ohio State Buckeyes, but don't drop snaps that, could have put like the game away. Like, remember Howard dropped the snap late in the third quarter while Ohio State was starting to get, started on a drive. Mm-hmm. I think they started like the 2-yard line, made it out to the 30. It was like 3rd and 3. If they, if Howard doesn't drop the fucking snap, they probably fire it for a first down, and who knows what happens from there. But you just can't let that happen, man. You just cannot let that happen. Like, that's the kind of thing, like, the team just tenses up. And I understand they didn't do that against Tennessee, but I want to make it very clear that Tennessee is not the type of team that Ryan Day pisses down his leg against. Tennessee is the 17th most talented team in the country in the 247 composite. They were not ranked in the top 5 either. They are not a team that Ryan Day would do that against. Oregon is. Texas is. Georgia is. Alabama a couple years ago is. That's the standard. You have to win those games. And beating Tennessee a couple weeks ago is, okay, it was a great performance. It was not a great win. And to win and get great, to win games against great teams, you have to do the fundamentals, man. You have to be able to execute on the most minute details. And that's what Jim Tressel did. And that's for the most part what Urban Meyer did. Now, both coaches were too conservative for my liking, and that's why they underachieved a little bit. But my God, they were much better than Ryan Day as coaches. That's for fucking sure.
Well, and I mean, and that's a fair point, because that is the big question with Ryan Day is, can he win these types of games? When there's a significant talent advantage, he has won those games. The difference in the Tennessee game is, instead of just winning that game with his talent, he dismantled that team with his talent and the scheme that they had. So, that's what it's going to take, is that type of effort against this Oregon team, because they're not going to just they're probably not going to just out talent them. Maybe they do and win a close game, but that's certainly not their best path to victory. Their best path to victory is taking that talent they have and utilizing it in the way that they recruited. They did not recruit this roster to run between the tackles a bunch. They recruited this roster to get the ball to the wide receivers. Last thing I'll say about the defense, just kind of flipping back to that, the defensive line, they looked like unstoppable monsters against Tennessee, and they were. But this is not Tennessee's offensive line. Tennessee's offensive line is okay. They're not great. If you go back to the review, I think we said, I think my final conclusion on them is they're kind of good. They're kind of a good run block team. They're not a good pass block team. That played out. This Oregon offensive line is good. They've got at least a couple of guys, maybe 3 guys that are going to play on Sundays, that are going to be second, third, fourth round picks. So this is a more of a test for that defensive line. Can JT and Sawyer continue to play like they're on fire? Much like the way that 2014 team did, played like they're on fire, beat a inferior talented Wisconsin team, went on, beat a very good Alabama team and didn't even play clean, had 2 interceptions, went on and beat a very good Oregon team and didn't even play close to clean, had either 4 or 5 turnovers, but that's how good that team was playing. This team doesn't have that flexibility. They're not going to be that much better than Oregon, than Texas, than potentially Georgia or Notre Dame or whoever. They're going to have to play well, and they're going to have to scheme well. It's a very difficult road. And I think that is needs to be a reality for Ohio State fans. The Tennessee game was amazing. It was exhilarating to see them come from SEC country into Ohio Stadium and get beat like a dog. It was amazing. However, it's a long road ahead. This game, as big as this game is, you still have 2 monsters left after this game. And Ryan Day has not shown he can beat them really at all, let alone 3 in a row. And so this is the first step. It's one step at a time. They passed the first test with flying colors. This is test number 2. Can they do it? Yeah, they can. Will they do it? Ryan Day will get another monkey off of his back if they can come through and win in Pasadena.
One thing to add on to that is, if Ryan Day were to win this game, you can have a conversation about him, keeping his job and this, that, and the other. That's my opinion. You can have a conversation about, is he maybe a good coach? I mean, you beat an Oregon team that, this is a top 5 team in their backyard. And yeah, the Rose Bowl is in their backyard. I don't care what anyone says. A lot of those kids on their team are from California. That would be a bigger win than Clemson in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be, that would be Ryan Day's biggest win. It would be the program's biggest win since Alabama 2014, I would say, because I would say winning that game was bigger than Oregon 2014.
Yeah.
In my opinion, beating the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Ryan Day, for all of his negatives that he has had, in these types of games, he's generally had good performances. His team's generally been relatively ready to play for these types of games. And that's been the whole argument of the Ryan Day Forever crowd is, basically we usually look pretty good in the playoffs. And so they are, in these postseason games. And so, they take some of Jim Tressel's failures and be like, whatever. They take Urban Meyer's failure against Clemson, whatever. Ryan Day hasn't done that. Well, I mean, he kind of has actually against Alabama. I think he was outmatched in every way against that team. He was outmatched coaching, obviously, against Nick Saban. And I think they were outmatched player-wise as well, even though it was the number 1 versus the number 2 roster in the country. I think the Alabama had a significant advantage. That's not going to be the case necessarily going forward. There is no team that's going to have a significant talent advantage over him. There shouldn't be any team that has a significant coaching advantage over him going forward. I'm not saying Kirby Smart or maybe even Marcus Freeman are not better coaches than Ryan Day. I'm saying as a staff, there shouldn't be any team that has a significant coaching advantage over him the way that Alabama coach Nick Saban had over him in 2020 with Kerry Combs as the defensive coordinator, with in some of the terrible matchups that that Alabama was able to just easily scheme against us, getting an unstoppable wide receiver on our linebackers at times. And so what I say all that to say this, all of these games are winnable. Except for the Alabama game, he's generally been very competitive in all of these types of games. I expect a very competitive game, Jay. Are we ready to get towards game predictions?
I think we are, Michael. I would like to see some of the chat's game predictions if they are able to put them out on here. I don't know how many people are actually live with us right now. Yeah, so chat, please send your game predictions. I'll try and read them off. Shane Cup has already predicted an Oregon win. He does not trust Ryan Day in these types of games. The closer the game is, the more likely Ryan Day is to screw something up. I cannot disagree with you, Shane. I cannot disagree with you there. Braxton Buxton starting to get really nervous for this one. I don't know if I'm nervous anymore or kind of like have some kind of just laissez-faire mentality for Ohio State athletics for this point, man. It's just kind of a sad time, honestly.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel with uncontrollable violent rage is what it is.
Yeah, Slip and Skippy said, I mean, we had a last-second field goal against Utah in the Rose Bowl. That's true, and that was not an overly impressive win against that Utah team. However, our starting wide receivers were all out, and for the I think, except I think maybe Jackson Smith may have played that. Yeah, he did play that game. He had a huge game, but Olave and Wilson both set out, and so Marvin and whoever else came in that game, to kind of save the day. So, I give him some credit for that, since he had to, completely reshuffle his offensive weapons and was still able to go out and win the game. But yeah, it wasn't overly impressive. Afraid of Ryan Day, woohoo fan. Good to see him in the chat. Big time skeptical with Day in charge. Woohoo fan. Also, Caroline, 10-17 OSU. She's going with a low scorer out there in Pasadena, Jay. Let's see. Slip and Skippy said he did pick Tennessee last time and was wrong, so maybe I pick Oregon just to be wrong again. LOL. Yeah, go for it. I'm ready to outlay my prediction, Jay.
Michael, fucking do it, man. I know you've been waiting a long time, and you seem pretty optimistic about this one. I would say it's cautious optimism. Mm-hmm. So, sir, let's hear your prediction and why you are predicting who, said team is going to win and the score that they're going to win by. The floor is yours, my friend.
I am predicting that Ryan Day once again comes out with a pretty good game plan. Let's Jeremiah Smith, let's Carnell Tate, let's Emeka Ibuka, let's Henderson and Judkins, let's those guys get out and make plays. I'm going to go with that the offensive line is fixed enough that with what I saw Penn State do against this Oregon team, rushing for nearly 300 yards or maybe 300 yards, I'm going to go with we can pick up 120 to 150 yards on the ground and throw the ball effectively and move down and score. And I believe that Jim Knowles is going to put some new wrinkles in that is going to make Gabriel a little bit more uncomfortable this time around. I do think Ryan Day is going to get tight at a point. I think he's going to tighten up at a point. I am going to predict, I'll even be this intricate in my prediction, Jay. I think Ohio State's going to come out slinging it and really taking it to them, and maybe even go with a pretty big lead at one point, like 17-7 or somewhere like that. But I think ultimately Ryan Day is going to tighten up at a point. Things are going to get difficult, but I do think that all the game planning, all the adjustments that have made through the season, taking away the home field advantage, I'm going to go with a relatively clean game, and I am going to go with an Ohio State win, 28-26.
Fuck, man. You realize how many people are going to die of heart attacks with that kind of score? Like, I would not be surprised if people are fucking dropping dead after that game. Like 28-26, what a unique, just nail-biting, heart-stopping score. Like, wow. What in the fuck happens at the end of that game to end up with that score, man? Can you give me any kind of, like, vision, foresight here?
Yeah. So we got a missed extra point that takes Oregon to 13. We got a touchdown that takes them to 20. And we got Jim Knowles' stingy red zone defense hold them to a couple of field goals to make it 26.
The super optimist, Michael, the voice of reason, sir. I like it. You know, it's really sad, Michael, that this is quite possibly in our last game preview of the year for the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's been a fun time this year. I hope that is understood. Had a lot of fun with you this year. Not saying this show is over by any means. I'm just saying, like, kind of the regular season for Ohio State could be over. Just want to say, had a lot of fun, man. Had a lot of fun this year. You know, Michael, when I think about my prediction with this game, you know, I don't have the same confidence that I did heading into the Tennessee game. I would just want to point that out. You know, I don't trust Ryan Day to coach 2 good games in a row. These aren't the types of games that Ryan Day wins, and most of the time he loses. You know, Ohio State played a pretty good game offensively the first time around against Oregon.
Jay, I'll interject. I don't think he's ever beat a number 1 team in the country, has he?
No. Never. What's lost in all of this discussion is offensively, Ohio State played a pretty good game offensively the first time around. And this time, Oregon actually has Jordan Burch. Ohio State does not have Josh Simmons. They do not have Seth McLaughlin. Oregon has the coaching advantage as well, easily. I don't think that's up for discussion anymore. The Oregon Ducks are still on the West Coast and in an environment that's old Pac-10 friendly. Yes, Penn State gave Oregon a great game, but that was a pseudo home game for Penn State in Indianapolis. So, Michael, my prediction for this game, I have the Ohio State University Buckeyes of Columbus, Ohio, with a score of 24, and the University of Oregon Ducks out of Eugene, left wing, Oregon, 28.
Wow. Going with an Oregon victory. There we have it. It's not all or nothing on the Scarlet and Rage this week. One of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be wrong.
I hope I'm wrong, man.
If Jay's wrong, he's going to be far happier than if I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah. I will absolutely. I'll have, you know, maybe not tears of joy, but I will be extremely happy. I came to this conclusion, man, that this game is making me really, really, really uncomfortable the closer it gets. You know, similar to Washington and Oregon rematch from last season. Oregon was the trendy pick to beat Washington the second time around. I believe they were actually favored, you know, not by, you know, more than Ohio State is right now. And they got blasted, or they lost decisively. You know, I don't expect Ohio State to get blasted, evidenced by my final score, but I do expect that there to be not much doubt about who the better team is. Like, you know, I made mention earlier in the show, Oregon defense, it is not Michigan, but in my opinion, they do have the second best defensive line in the country, and they are good enough to contain Ohio State with those 4 men. Their secondary is not big. They are a bunch of fucking midgets. They are a bunch of Smurfs out there, but they are fast, athletic, experienced, and physical. And I just don't trust Ryan Day, man. I don't trust him to do all the things that I pointed out before. This is still Ryan Day we are talking about. We are still talking about Ryan Day going against the number 1 team in the country. I do believe Oregon is the best team in the country. Is Ohio State playing better right now? Yeah, I do think they're playing better. But there's still, like, problems with this team that I just can't get past, man. Yeah, or Tennessee has turned out, you know, the more you look into them, yeah, they're a little overrated. And what's the most sad part about this, Michael, is after this loss, Ohio State will keep Ryan Day. And, for another season on a team next year, that's not going to be quite as talented as this one. We have to go on the road to Michigan next year. Just not great times right now at Ohio State. It's just, I cannot pick Ohio State win this game, man. I will be absolutely pleasantly surprised if they win, but there are too many things going against this program right now, and the personnel and the coaching and the field goal kicking, the special teams, that we just cannot get past. And I will be in absolute jubilee if they were to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm praying that I'm wrong, but Ryan Day sucks. I mean, he's terrible. He's a terrible coach. I don't give a fuck how bad he beat Tennessee. He was at home. It was at night. I usually have a pretty good gut feel for a lot of things, and I'm not always right, but I usually am. And I just don't think Ohio State's going to pull through here, Michael. I just don't. I don't see it happening.
Well, as we wrap this up, I think we've got some disagreement among, I believe, Michigan fans in the chat. Jordan, which I think is a Michigan fan because he said third base doesn't have weeks to prepare. Dave will get destroyed. And he has Oregon beating Ohio State 54-6. And then Southwest.
Now that's trolling there. That's trolling.
Southwest Lion, who I know is a Michigan fan, he had Ohio State winning. I think it was 37-31. SSLS does not think Ohio State's going to fare too well with the 34-24 loss. He is, or she, whoever, is an Ohio State fan. Yeah. So I think that's about all we got. There's Frosty coming in right here at the end.
I see it, man. I see a couple of people are jumping on now.
Well, guys, we'll probably be back to our regular time next time, but just check the community notes, and see if we've changed it to 8:30 or 9:30. We're still vacillating on which one is the better time. I know obviously for tonight, probably 9:30 would have been the better time because you guys are not used to 8:30. But check the community notes and we will let you know whether it'll be 8:30 or 9:30 next time. I hate it. Some of you guys got in here a little bit late, but great having those of you that were here. Hope you had a wonderful holiday, and we'll be back. With a post game?
Yeah, I was trying to think when I'm going to be able to come back. It will either be January 2nd or January 3rd. January 2nd obviously be the day after, but it could be January 3rd depending on when I come back. So Michael, before we bounce out of here, man, we're both actually going to be watching this game in a metaphorical way of our one arm tied behind our backs. You are going to be in New Orleans inside the stadium, at least watching the second half, correct?
Correct.
And everyone, I am going to be in the fucking hospital waiting on my baby's, my second baby's birth. We're going to the hospital on December 31st. So, however that, obviously I'm going to be in the hospital on January 1st, maybe watching the game. Maybe I'm able to walk across the street to a local bar and watch it for a little bit. But, I don't really like watching the game. As time goes on, I don't really like people. I'm not a very social person. Most people I don't get along with, and that's fine. I'm my own fucking person. It is what it is. But yeah, I just, I'm just gonna be watching the game with my arm tied behind my back, man. So are you. Look at the fucking comments, man. Oh, so Caroline, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, miss, ma'am. Congrats, Rachel. Let them grow up to be a. Oh no, trust me. I already have my first one, who's a hard conservative already, wearing his Donald Trump shirt. So yeah, I'm gonna be in the hospital watching this game, Michael, and you're gonna be in another stadium. So I feel like we're both gonna be kind of like caught up in other fucking things, like while watching this game. So
yep.
As sad as I'm gonna be an Ohio State loss, at least maybe I can take some appreciation in like the other things in life, such as, family and my wife and kids. Maybe that can like take me out of like a long depression. I don't know.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Ryan Day has to deliver. He has to deliver. He delivered. He didn't deliver for me to take my kids to Indianapolis. He delivered for a home playoff game. He has to deliver a win on your son's birthday. He cannot be born on a loss.
No, my son is actually going to be born on the 30. Or no, actually, I don't know if it's for the chat. I don't know if it's going to be a boy or a girl. We are keeping it a surprise until the baby comes out of my wife's vagina. So yeah, so we're going to keep it a surprise, and yeah, so my baby is going to be born on the 31st, and so yeah, on January 1st we're still going to be in the hospital, and yes, taxes, yes, you're right, Dr. Detroit, yes,
Yep. Well, absolutely. Well, he or she cannot start their Ohio State career with a loss to Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
I have some baby clothes, like baby Ohio State clothes for the baby.
Well, there you go.
To put on. I don't know if they're going to fit. Probably fucking not. But oh well. I'm going to try. We'll see.
All right. Well, you'll be a dad a second time next time we get on here.
Yeah,
and the Buckeyes will either be headed to the Final Four or they will be headed home for a long off season. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all the chat. Appreciate all the interaction we get with you. We'll be back. Check those community notes, and we'll see you then. All right. I got to run. I can call you if you want to talk about the show.
It's still live.
Oh.